All right, let's get right into it. We are going to talk about what might be the most nerve-wracking part of any teacher certification exam, that open-ended essay question. In this explainer, we're going to break down how to use a super simple framework to write a fantastic answer every single time.
You know that feeling, right? You studied for weeks, you know your stuff, but then you flip to that essay prompt and your mind just goes blank. It's totally normal. That pressure is real. But listen, there is a structure, a secret recipe that's going to take all that stress away.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start with the key to everything, what I call the Fab Five. Then we'll walk through each of those 5 parts, step by step. And at the very end, we'll pull it all together into a simple formula you can literally use on exam day.
So what is this secret weapon? It's called the Fab Five of Reading. And seriously, this isn't just some random list of terms. This is the framework for pretty much any question they can throw at you about teaching reading. If you get this, you've got the key to a great score.
And here they are: phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and finally, comprehension. Now, the most important thing to see here is that they're in order for a reason. Think of them like a ladder. You can't get to the top rung without climbing the ones below it. Each skill builds on the one before it, all leading to that ultimate goal, comprehension.
So, let's start at the bottom of that ladder, the absolute foundation. We're talking about the first 2 skills, which are all about sound and the written code. A student has to have a solid grip on these before they can really move on to anything else.
And this is the perfect way to remember the difference between the two. Phonemic awareness is all about sound, it's auditory. You could literally do these activities in the dark with your eyes closed. Phonics is where you connect those sounds to actual letters on a page. So for that, your eyes have to be open. It's the sound-symbol connection.
Okay, so for your essay, you need some real actionable strategies, right? For phonemic awareness, you could talk about sound deletion. That's where you ask a student to say a word like stick and then say it again without the S sound. Or for a more advanced skill, sound substitution, turning math into moth just by changing that one vowel sound.
Now for phonics, your strategies have to involve print, so you could write about teaching specific patterns, like the silent E rule, how that E at the end of make makes the A say its name. Or you could talk about vowel teams, like how the E and A in mean team up to make that long E sound. And this is so important. The people grading your exam are looking for depth, not a laundry list. You don't need to throw out every single activity you know. Just pick 1 or 2 really solid examples for whatever skill they're asking about and explain them well. That's what shows you truly get it.
Okay, so once a student can actually sound out the words, what's next? Well, now we shift to putting those words together smoothly and actually knowing what they mean. And that brings us to our next 2 building blocks, fluency and vocabulary.
A lot of people think fluency just means reading fast, but it's so much more than that. It's about reading accurately, at a good pace, and with expression, making it sound like you're talking, not like a robot. If a student is struggling with fluency, all their brain power is just focused on decoding, and there's none left over to actually understand the story.
So if your essay prompt is about a student struggling with fluency, what can you do? Well, a classic strategy is repeated reading. Just having a student read the same short paragraph a few times builds incredible confidence and speed. Or you could do echo reading, where you read a line and they read it right back, copying your expression. Choral reading, where everyone reads together, is another fantastic one.
Moving on to vocabulary. Yeah, flashcards can be useful, but the real way we learn most words is by just seeing them in a book. So the most important skill you can teach is how to use context clues, how to be a word detective and figure out a word's meaning from the other words around it.
And these context clues actually come in a few different types. There are semantic cues, that's using the meaning of the sentence, syntactic cues, that's using the grammar or structure, and graphophonic cues, which is just a fancy way of saying, hey, does this word look and sound like a word I already know?
Here's a pro tip for your essay. Show that you know the difference between old school and modern teaching. Instead of suggesting the old, write the word and definition 3 times, talk about more engaging modern strategies. Things like interactive word walls or having students do word sorts where they group words by meaning. It just shows you're on top of your game.
And that brings us to the top of the ladder, the whole point of this entire process, reading comprehension. All those other skills are just the vehicle. This is the destination. Actually understanding what you read. So what's the #1 strategy for comprehension? It's a big word, metacognition. But don't let it scare you. It just means thinking about your own thinking.
See, good readers do this naturally. They're constantly checking in with themselves, asking, does this make sense? Our job is to teach struggling readers how to make that inner voice explicit.
And the absolute best way to teach metacognition is a strategy called a read aloud, think aloud. It's exactly what it sounds like. You, the teacher, read a text out loud and you literally say what you're thinking. You'd say things like, I'm a little confused here. Let me reread that last sentence. Or, oh, based on that clue, I predict the main character is going to get into trouble. You're basically giving students a model for how good readers think.
Okay, we've covered all 5 pieces of the puzzle. We have all the knowledge. So now, how do we put it all together to write a killer answer on the test? Well, it's actually a really, really simple formula.
But before I give you the formula, if you remember one thing from this whole explainer, let it be this. Do not just name a strategy. You have to explain why. Why does it work? Why is it the right choice for this student? That why is what gets you the top scores.
So here it is, the 3-step formula. First, you name the skill area from the Fab Five you're focusing on, like phonics. Second, you describe a specific, concrete strategy, like teaching vowel teams. And third, the magic step, you explain why it's important. For example, this strategy is crucial because mastering vowel teams helps students decode longer words, which in turn boosts their reading fluency and confidence. See? Name it, describe it, explain it. That's it.
So next time you're faced with that blank page, don't panic. Just think of the Fab Five as your guide and use that simple 3-part formula. If you do that, you'll be able to turn that intimidating empty space into a confident, structured, top-scoring essay. So, you ready to go ace that exam?